His first question is from A-Joy. Modern cognitive scientists are veering more and more towards the idea that consciousness is fundamental and there is a deeper reality in the world than our senses tell us. A honeybee has a strong nasal sensory system that takes it to the source of honey. Similarly, a bat has sound receptacles that allow it to sense danger and also find its prey. They also do not see the world as we see it. Therefore, is it not a legitimate question to ask, how correct are we to presume that what we see is indeed the reality? How can we say our sensory organs tell us the truth? Can you give us a Vedantic perspective to it and how Advaita Vedanta sees such developments?
Right. It's very interesting. As Ajay has written, that's true. Our senses, do they report the truth to us? Do they report reality to us? And the conclusion of modern cognitive science, and indeed even evolutionary science, is that they do not. The senses do not report reality to us. What do you mean by that? So are they misreporting? Not at all. Because you see, evolution has not designed our senses to report reality. Evolution has designed our senses to protect us and make sure that we survive and pass on our genes to the next generation. Evolution is designed our bodies and minds and senses for survival. That's the conclusion of Darwinian science. In fact, Darwinian psychology, that's how our mind-body system is designed. These are vehicles for our genes which will be transmitted to the next generation. And so what makes sense is not senses which report reality exactly as it is, but which report reality in such a way which enables the human animal to survive. So for example, the classic Vedantic example of seeing a snake in a rope, it's a mistake, but we are prone to similar mistakes. Does that make sense? Yes, it makes sense. Why does that mistake make sense? Because it makes perfect evolutionary sense. It might be a snake, especially in the prehistoric jungles. It could very well be a snake. There were fewer ropes and more snakes around at that time. And it pays to be aware, even if out of 9 out of 10 times it's not a snake. You've just made a mistake, no harm done. But the 10th time when it is really a snake, it saves you from being bitten and killed. So it makes evolutionary sense for your senses to misreport and misconstrue reality if it makes you hyper-aware and more careful about your environment. Recently I was reading how our senses, we like sugar. So we have a tendency for sugar. We like sweet things. Now you might say, how is that good for evolution? Because it's very bad for health. But true, that is true. But it's bad for health in a modern world. Robert Wright, he in his new book, Why Buddhism is True, there he says that imagine where these senses were evolved to help us function in the prehistoric savannas or jungles. Very little sugar was naturally available. And most of it was available in the form of fruits. They were very valued so that you could get your natural sugar directly. Now it's more than available. Everywhere there's sugar. All over, especially in this country. I went to a doctor's chamber in LA, and there was a chart. It showed a typical American in the late 19th century, how much sugar he ate. It was a he. And a typical American in the early 21st century, how much sugar this person eats. And so the 19th century person is depicted as this farmer holding a pitchfork and wearing a floppy hat and holding a small bag of sugar, a sack of sugar. That's the amount of sugar that person, on the average, ate in 1 year. That bag of sugar. It seems a lot, but it's 1 year. And now fast forward to the 21st century. There's this person who is in an executive suit who could just be walking off Wall Street, maybe a stockbroker or something. And next to him is a dumpster full of sugar. That's the amount of sugar an average American adult eats today. What an enormous difference. And remember, that farmer in the late 19th century worked much harder, was physically active, worked much harder. And this guy is spending most of his time sitting in front of a computer or typing. The maximum activities of the fingers, updating his Facebook or something. Now, why would our senses do that? But it made evolutionary sense tens of thousands of years ago. Now it does not make sense. It's damaging. But the senses attract us to something which is not actually good for us any longer. So whether it is the sense organs or the motor organs or whichever, they are designed for evolutionary success, not for reporting truth to us. It's interesting that you should mention the bat. The bat is heavily dependent on its sonar, on its like a radar. It sends out pulses of sound and then receives it back and navigates through very skillfully. It sees with sound as if. So its worldview would be quite different, not the way we perceive the world. There was a very influential paper written by Thomas Nagel, a philosopher, who wrote, What is it like to be a bat? Talking about the first perspective view of consciousness. And now there's the whole science of the hard problem of consciousness, which is going on. But that paper was very seminal, very important at that time. And it's available freely on the net. So if you are interested, you can always take a look. What is it like to be a bat? Vedanta fully agrees with this perspective. Robert Wright, who is an evolutionist, a Darwinian, his most recent book, he's an atheist and Darwinian. His most recent book is Why Buddhism is True. And his first chapter is how our senses misrepresent it to us. What Buddhism says about this is exactly what Vedanta says about it. Our minds and senses do not report the world to us accurately. Right? This inaccurate reporting is a vital component of Maya. The world is not revealed to us as it is. One of the major components of Maya, this inaccurate reporting, is what is called the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill this is well known to the Buddha, well known to the rishis of the Upanishads, is that we always feel that our minds misreport the amount of happiness that we are going to get out of a particular activity or something. If I eat this cookie, I feel I'll be very happy. Actually, when you eat the cookie, you're not all that happy. If I take this vacation, I really feel I'll be happy, and aided by the advertisers and everything. If I get the latest gadget, iPhone or something, I feel I'll be really happy. But actually, when you buy it and start using it, you're not that happy. And then quickly the mind, it doesn't say, oh, I misrepresented, there's something wrong with my view of the world. No, it doesn't do that. It quickly moves on to the next thing, saying that if you get that, you will be very happy. This gadget, that house to live in, this relationship, all of that, minds continuously misreport, misjudge. That they report more happiness than is actually there. That's what pulls us along. Again, Darwinian sense. Food, reproduction, they're all reported by our minds to be, source of great happiness. Why? That will motivate the animal mind towards that, and that serves nature's purpose, but doesn't serve your purpose. So yes, Vedanta absolutely agrees with that. That's the Vedantic perspective. More and more, I think, it is coming to the Vedantic perspective.